I am Jarvis, your storyteller. Welcome to the Science Fiction Exploration. If you like the story, please subscribe to our channel.
The Impossible Patient. Dr. Eleanor Pierce's meditation was interrupted by the emergency klaxon's wail. Her eyes snapped open, cybernetic medical interface already scrolling data across her vision. The peaceful solitude of her quarters dissolved into urgent reality as the station's AI spoke. Level 1 trauma incoming. Unknown xenobiological entity. Severe trauma. ETA 3 minutes. Eleanor was already moving, her augmented legs carrying her through the curved corridors of Outpost Sigma 7 with practiced efficiency. The station, hovering at the edge of contested space, wasn't supposed to receive major casualties. That's why they'd assigned her here, a decorated combat medic who'd seen too much, given a quiet post to recover. So much for that plan. Details, she commanded, bursting into the medical bay. Her team, Nurse Prakash and Dr. Ryuki, looked up from their preparations. Transport incoming from the Cerulean Nebula, Ryuki reported, his cybernetic eye whirring as it adjusted. Mining colony distress signal. They're bringing us, well, you need to see it to believe it. The medical bay doors hissed open. Eleanor's breath caught in her throat. Two massive security mechs stumbled in, bearing between them what could only be described as a dragon. Its crystalline scales shimmered with internal light, now flickering dangerously dim. A massive wound gaped in its chest, leaking luminescent fluid. By the stars, Nurse Prakash whispered, dark hands steady as she prepared emergency supplies. Species unknown, the station's AI reported. No matching xenobiological data. Caution advised. Eleanor approached the dying creature. Its eyes, faceted like diamonds, fixed on her. I am Kethrix, it spoke, voice like chimes in the wind. Last. Guardian of the Crystal Sphere. Save the introductions, Eleanor commanded, medical interfaces scanning rapidly. You're bleeding out. Prakash, get me synthetic plasma, all types. Ryuki, prep the quantum stabilizer. The dragon's crystalline structure was unlike anything she'd encountered in 15 years of xenomedicine. Its entire biology seemed to operate on principles that defied conventional medical science. But Eleanor hadn't earned her reputation by playing it safe. Your biology, she said, hands moving swiftly to apply emergency measures, it's photonic-based? You're not just crystal, you're some kind of living light matrix? Kethrix's eye facets sparkled weakly. You understand? Enough to know we need to think outside standard procedures. Eleanor's cybernetic interface flashed warnings about unauthorized treatments. She dismissed them with a thought. Ryuki, forget the stabilizer. Get me the experimental photon infuser from Lab 3. That's not approved for Ryuki began. Now. Eleanor barked. The wound was spreading, crystal edges turning dark. Whatever had caused this wasn't just physical trauma, it was spreading like a corruption through Kethrix's crystalline matrix. As Ryuki rushed out, Eleanor placed her hands on the dragon's chest, near the wound. Her medical interfaces screamed protests as she overrode safety protocols, channeling energy directly from her cybernetic systems into Kethrix's failing light matrix. What are you doing? Prakash asked, alarm clear in her voice. Buying time, Eleanor grunted. The connection was dangerous, she could feel her own system straining, warning lights flashing across her vision. But Kethrix's flickering grew steadier. The dragon's eyes fixed on her. You risk yourself? Part of the job, Eleanor managed through gritted teeth. Though I'll admit, this is a first. Ryuki returned with the photon infuser, an experimental device meant for recharging power cells. Eleanor had other plans for it. Working one-handed, she modified its settings, praying her theory about Kethrix's biology was correct. This might hurt, she warned, positioning the device. Or whatever the crystalline equivalent of pain is. She activated the infuser. Brilliant light flooded the medical bay. Kethrix's body resonated, the corrupt darkness in his wound fighting against the pure energy being pumped into his system. Eleanor maintained her own connection, using her medical interfaces to guide the energy, to shape it according to the patterns she'd observed in his matrix. For 3 tense minutes, nothing seemed to change. Eleanor's vision began to blur, her cybernetics warning of imminent shutdown. Then, like dawn breaking, Kethrix's natural luminescence surged. The corruption retreated, crystal healing crystal, light restoring light. Eleanor staggered back, catching herself against a medical bed. Emergency protocols kicked in, her cybernetics beginning emergency recharge procedures. But Kethrix was stable, his chest wound already beginning to seal with new crystal growth. Impossible, Ryuki breathed, his scanner confirming the readings. The matrix is regenerating. Not impossible, Eleanor corrected, allowing herself a small smile. Just improbable. And in my experience, that's good enough. Kethrix rose slowly, light pulsing strongly through his restored form. You have done more than heal me, Dr. Eleanor Pierce. You have proven yourself worthy of a truth I must share. His voice grew grave. A truth about why I was attacked, and what it means for both our peoples. Eleanor's medical interface chose that moment to flash a final warning before shutting down for emergency repairs. She sighed. Any chance this truth can wait until after I've recharged? The dragon's crystalline features shifted in what might have been a smile. I fear time is the one resource we no longer have in abundance. Through the medical bay's windows, Eleanor noticed distant flashes in space, weapons fire. Her quiet posting, it seemed, was about to become much less quiet. Ancient secrets. Eleanor's cybernetics hummed back to life just as the station's alert status shifted to red. Through the medical bay's reinforced windows, energy weapons painted deadly patterns across the void. Her systems were at 40%, not ideal, but she'd worked with worse in the combat zones. 3 vessels detected, the station AI announced. Configuration matches Shadowtech raiders. They are demanding immediate surrender of the crystal entity. Kethrix's luminescence pulsed with what Eleanor now recognized as anger. The Void Hunters, he rumbled. They followed my energy signature. Your turn to explain, Eleanor said, checking the security feeds. The station's defenses were holding, but raiders weren't known for giving up easily. What exactly did I just save? The crystalline dragon drew himself up, light patterns shifting through his restored matrix. I am the last guardian of the crystal sphere, an ancient repository of my people's knowledge and power. The Void Hunters seek to corrupt its energies, to twist our light-based technology into weapons of unimaginable destruction. Nurse Prakash, monitoring the dragon's readings, frowned. But the wound we treated, it was already corrupted. They got to you once? A betrayal, Kethrix confirmed. One of our own, seduced by promises of power. I escaped with the sphere's core, but not before they infected me with their Shadowtech virus. A virus you, Dr. Pierce, somehow purged. Eleanor's cybernetic eye zoomed in on Kethrix's healed chest cavity. The new crystal growth had a subtle difference, threads of energy that seemed to resonate with her own technology. About that, she said slowly. My medical interface is picking up some unusual readings. The energy transfer wasn't just one way. A distant explosion rocked the station. Dr. Ryuki burst in, his cybernetic eye glowing urgently. We've got bigger problems. Station security just detected multiple hull breaches. They're boarding. Eleanor's combat instincts kicked in. Prakash, begin evacuation protocols for non-essential personnel. Ryuki, secure the sensitive materials in the lab. She stopped, staring at her hands. Beneath her skin, traces of crystalline light pulsed in sync with her cybernetics. Kethrix moved closer, his massive form surprisingly graceful. The merger of our energies was not anticipated, but perhaps it was destined. The crystal sphere chose you, Dr. Pierce. It recognized in your healing touch a power that transcends mere technology. Save the mystical destiny talk, Eleanor snapped, though she couldn't deny the strange new energy flowing through her systems. We need to get you to safety before dash. The medical bay doors exploded inward. Through the smoke stepped figures in sleek black armor, their visors glowing with malevolent purple light. Shadowtech commandos, elite raiders enhanced with corrupted crystal technology. The Guardian will come with us, their leader announced, voice distorted by dark energy. The human experiment ends now. Eleanor stepped forward, positioning herself between the raiders and her patient. Her medical interfaces were lighting up with new options, crystal tech protocols she'd never seen before integrating seamlessly with her combat subroutines. Funny thing about experiments, she said, feeling the crystal energy surge through her cybernetics. Results can be surprising. The lead commando raised his weapon, but Eleanor was already moving. Her augmented speed, now enhanced by crystalline energy, let her cross the distance before he could fire. Her medical gauntlets, designed for precision surgery, sparked with hybrid power as she struck. The commando's Shadowtech armor cracked, light-piercing corruption. Kethrix roared, a sound like breaking glass and ringing bells. Pure energy pulsed from his form, catching 2 more raiders in its blast. But more were coming, and Eleanor could see the Shadowtech virus trying to spread through the station systems. The sphere. Kethrix called out. They cannot be allowed to find it. Eleanor ducked under a dark energy blast, her enhanced systems calculating trajectories with crystal-clear precision. Where is it? Here, the dragon said, light pulsing from his chest cavity, the same spot she'd healed. But its power is now shared between us. A safeguard, should I fall. Another explosion rocked the station. Through her neural link, Eleanor received urgent updates. Shadowtech corruption was spreading through lower decks. More raider ships were emerging from hyperspace. And her own systems were evolving, crystal protocols rewriting her cybernetics in real time. Doctor. Nurse Prakash called from the emergency terminal. Station command is ordering immediate evacuation. But the raiders have blocked most escape routes. Eleanor looked at her transformed hands, then at Kethrix, understanding dawning. There's another way, she said. But you're not going to like it. The dragon's faceted eyes sparkled with what might have been amusement. You wish to attempt something impossible? Improbable, Eleanor corrected, already accessing the new crystal protocols in her system. I'm going to merge our defensive capabilities. Your light, my tech. Create a purge wave through the station's power grid. The energy requirements would be enormous, Ryuki protested. It could burn out every system on the station, including your cybernetics. Better burned out than corrupted, Eleanor said, establishing a connection with Kethrix's matrix. Shadowtech raiders were flooding into the medical bay now, but they hesitated at the sight before them. Human and dragon stood together, light and technology intertwining, creating something new. Something that would change both their civilizations forever. Eleanor only hoped they'd survive to see it. The merge. Time seemed to crystallize as Eleanor and Kethrix joined their energies. The medical bay blazed with impossible light, cybernetics and crystal matrix harmonizing in ways that defied conventional physics. Through their merged consciousness, Eleanor saw centuries of crystal guardian knowledge flowing alongside medical databases and combat protocols. Their shadow tech is spreading through the lower decks, she announced, her voice carrying an ethereal resonance. We need to act fast. Her transformed cybernetics showed her the corruption's path through the station systems, a cancer of dark energy consuming everything in its path. The merge is unstable, Kethrix warned, his crystalline form now interconnected with streams of technological energy. Your human form was not designed for this power. It will burn through you. Then we better make it count. Eleanor reached out through the station's neural network, her enhanced consciousness spreading through its systems. She could feel every circuit, every power conduit. More importantly, she could feel the Shadowtech virus trying to corrupt them. The raiders had fallen back, their visors dimming against the intense light. Their leader stepped forward, removing his helmet to reveal a face half consumed by corrupt crystal growth. You understand nothing of true power, he snarled. The old ways of the Guardians are finished. Evolution demands corruption. Evolution demands adaptation, Eleanor corrected. Through her merged senses, she could see the truth of the Raiders' condition. Your Shadowtech isn't evolution, it's parasitic. It's killing you even as it empowers you. Nurse Prakasha's voice cut through their connection. Doctor, station integrity is failing. Whatever you're going to do, it needs to be now. Eleanor felt Kethrix's energy surge through their bond. Together then, the dragon rumbled. Let us show them true power, the unity of crystal and cybernetic, of ancient wisdom and human innovation. They reached out as one being, tapping into the station's power grid. Eleanor's medical knowledge guided them, treating the station itself as a patient, identifying corruption and planning its removal. Kethrix's crystal energy provided the means, pure light ready to cauterize the darkness. The corrupted Raider commander realized their intention too late. Stop them, he roared, Shadowtech weapons blazing. But the merged light surrounding Eleanor and Kethrix absorbed the dark energy, transforming it, purifying it. Through their connection, Eleanor initiated the pulse. Crystal energy surged through cybernetic pathways, following the station's power grid like blood through veins. Where it touched Shadowtech corruption, it didn't simply destroy, it transformed. Dark crystal became light, corruption became purity. The Raiders screamed as their Shadowtech implants transformed, years of corruption undone in seconds. Some fled, others collapsed as their bodies rejected the sudden change. Their commander stood his ground, fighting the transformation even as his corrupt crystals blazed with cleansing light. You've doomed us all, he gasped, his body becoming pure crystal before shattering into harmless shards. The Void Lords will come now. They will not stop until the sphere is theirs. The purge wave reached the station's outer rings. Emergency systems flared and failed, artificial gravity fluctuated, and for one terrible moment, everything hung in the balance. Then, like a dawn breaking, pure light swept through every deck, every corridor, every system. When it was done, Eleanor felt the merge beginning to fade. Her consciousness separated from Kethrix's, human mind struggling to process the vastness of what they'd shared. She staggered, caught by Nurse Prakasha's steady hands. Station systems are restoring, Ryuki reported, his cybernetic eye rapidly scanning data feeds. Shadowtech corruption is gone. Completely purged. But. He looked at Eleanor with concern, your cybernetics are different now. The crystal protocols have fundamentally altered them. Eleanor looked at her hands, where traces of crystal energy still pulsed beneath her skin. The change wasn't just in her cybernetics, it was deeper, cellular. She could feel it humming through her entire being, a permanent reminder of the merge. The transformation is irreversible, Kethrix confirmed, his own form now showing traces of technological integration. You carry within you a part of the crystal sphere's power. And with it, the responsibility of a guardian. Great, Eleanor muttered, testing her new hybrid systems. Any other life-changing revelations you'd like to share? The dragon's crystalline features shifted in what she now recognized as grave concern. Only that what we faced today was merely a prelude. The Void Lords do not forgive failure. They will send worse than raiders now. Through the medical bay's windows, Eleanor watched the raider ships retreat, their shadow tech drives leaving trails of dissipating darkness. Her enhanced senses picked up unusual energy readings at the edge of the system, more ships, bigger ones, waiting. "How long do we have?" she asked, already calculating medical supplies and defensive options with her crystal-enhanced cybernetics. "Hours, perhaps," Kethrix replied. "They will gather their forces, prepare for a full invasion. Our display of power here will have convinced them that taking the sphere by force is their only option." Eleanor nodded, battle-hardened instincts merging with her new guardian awareness. "Then we'd better start preparing. Prakash, get me a full inventory of medical supplies. Ryuki, I need you to analyze these new crystal protocols, understand what we can do with them. And Kethrix." She turned to the dragon, a plan already forming in her transformed mind. "You're going to teach me everything you know about being a guardian. Fast." The station's AI announced emergency protocols, evacuation orders, and incoming military support. But Eleanor barely heard it. She was too focused on the crystal energy flowing through her systems, showing her possibilities that no human or dragon had ever imagined. The real battle, she knew, was just beginning. Crystal evolution. The hours following the merge passed in a blur of preparation and discovery. Eleanor stood in the center of the repurposed medical bay, now transformed into a hybrid command center. Crystal formations grew from the walls, interfacing with medical equipment in ways that would have seemed impossible just days ago. "Your adaptation is remarkable," Kethrix observed, watching Eleanor manipulate crystal energy through her cybernetic interfaces. "No human has ever merged with the sphere's power before. By all rights, it should have destroyed you." "Maybe it's the medical training," Eleanor replied, examining a holographic display of the station's new crystal tech defenses. "When you spend enough time healing others, you learn a thing or two about adaptation." She didn't mention the pain, the constant burning sensation as her body continued to evolve, human cells struggling to accommodate crystalline energy. Nurse Prakash approached with the latest scans. "The crystal integration has reached 60% of the station's systems," she reported. "But we're detecting unusual energy signatures from the crew. The purge wave, it did something to everyone's cybernetic implants." Eleanor had noticed. Every crew member with cybernetic enhancements was showing traces of crystal energy. Nothing as dramatic as her own transformation, but enough to be concerning. "Are they stable?" "For now," Ryuki answered from his workstation, his own cybernetic eye now glowing with a faint crystalline sheen. "But the real question is what happens when the Void Lords arrive. If they can corrupt crystal energy." "They cannot corrupt what has evolved beyond their understanding," Kethrix interrupted. His massive form moved to the central display, crystal wings casting prismatic shadows. "The merger of human technology and guardian crystal has created something new. Something they have never encountered." Eleanor touched one of the crystal formations growing from a medical scanner. Under her fingers, it pulsed with both technological and crystalline energy. "Tell that to the fleet assembling outside our system. Long-range scans show at least 12 capital ships. All of them carrying shadow tech weapons we've never seen before." The station shuddered as another crystal spire burst through the deck plating, integrating with the power grid. The transformation was accelerating, guided by the combined knowledge Eleanor and Kethrix now shared. But would it be enough? "Commander Pierce." A junior medic burst into the bay, his standard cybernetic arm now trailing traces of light. "Priority transmission from Alliance Command. They're ordering us to surrender the station." Eleanor's crystal-enhanced systems intercepted the transmission before it reached the main screens. She saw the truth behind the orders. Alliance Command was terrified. The station's transformation had been detected by long-range sensors, and in their fear, they saw only another potential threat. "They don't understand," Prakash said softly. "They think we're compromised." "We are compromised," Eleanor replied, watching crystal energy dance across her transformed hands. Just not in the way they think. She turned to Kethrix. The Void Lords will use this. They'll tell the Alliance we're the threat, use their fear to delay any reinforcements. The dragon's faceted eyes sparkled with ancient wisdom. Then we must show them the truth. Not through words, but through actions. The Void Lords come not just for the sphere, but to corrupt all they touch. The Alliance must see them for what they are. A warning klaxon cut through the air. Multiple hyperspace signatures detected, the station AI announced. Void Lord fleet entering the system. Energy readings exceed all known parameters. Eleanor felt the crystal energy surge through her enhanced systems, responding to the threat. Through the medical bay's windows, she watched as massive black ships emerged from hyperspace, corrupted crystal vessels that seemed to devour the starlight around them. Here they come, she murmured. Then, louder to her team, Prakash, begin emergency protocols for mass casualties. Ryuki, divert power to the new crystal shields. All non-essential personnel to emergency stations. And what of you? Kethrix asked, though his tone suggested he already knew the answer. Eleanor's cybernetics hummed as crystal energy coursed through them, combat and medical protocols merging with guardian power. I'm going to show the Alliance exactly what happens when you combine human ingenuity with crystal technology. She smiled grimly. And remind the Void Lords why it's a bad idea to threaten a combat medic's patients. The first shots from the Void Lord fleet lit up space, beams of corrupted crystal energy designed to transform whatever they touched into shadow tech. They struck the station's new defenses and found something unexpected, shields that didn't just block their power, but transformed it. They thought they were the only ones who could evolve, Eleanor said, stepping onto a platform of pure crystal that had grown from the deck. Time to show them how wrong they are. The platform rose, carrying her toward a newly formed crystal spire at the station's heart. Behind her, she heard Prakash organizing emergency response teams and Ryuki coordinating the station's transformed defenses. Kethrix's wings spread, crystal light blazing. The real battle was about to begin, and Eleanor intended to face it as what she had become, not just a doctor, not just a guardian, but something entirely new. A bridge between two civilizations, fighting to save them both. For now, Ryuki answered from his workstation, his own cybernetic eye now glowing with a faint crystalline sheen. But the real question is what happens when the Void Lords arrive. If they can corrupt crystal energy. They cannot corrupt what has evolved beyond their understanding, Kethrix interrupted. His massive form moved to the central display, crystal wings casting prismatic shadows. The merger of human technology and guardian crystal has created something new. Something they have never encountered. Eleanor touched one of the crystal formations growing from a medical scanner. Under her fingers, it pulsed with both technological and crystalline energy. Tell that to the fleet assembling outside our system. Long-range scans show at least 12 capital ships. All of them carrying shadow tech weapons we've never seen before. The station shuddered as another crystal spire burst through the deck plating, integrating with the power grid. The transformation was accelerating, guided by the combined knowledge Eleanor and Kethrix now shared. But would it be enough? Commander Pierce. A junior medic burst into the bay, his standard cybernetic arm now trailing traces of light. Priority transmission from Alliance Command. They're ordering us to surrender the station. Eleanor's crystal-enhanced systems intercepted the transmission before it reached the main screens. She saw the truth behind the orders. Alliance Command was terrified. The station's transformation had been detected by long-range sensors, and in their fear, they saw only another potential threat. They don't understand, Prakash said softly. They think we're compromised. We are compromised, Eleanor replied, watching crystal energy dance across her transformed hands. Just not in the way they think. She turned to Kethrix. The Void Lords will use this. They'll tell the Alliance we're the threat, use their fear to delay any reinforcements. The dragon's faceted eyes sparkled with ancient wisdom. Then we must show them the truth. Not through words, but through actions. The Void Lords come not just for the sphere, but to corrupt all they touch. The Alliance must see them for what they are. A warning klaxon cut through the air. Multiple hyperspace signatures detected, the station AI announced. Void Lord fleet entering the system. Energy readings exceed all known parameters. Eleanor felt the crystal energy surge through her enhanced systems, responding to the threat. Through the medical bay's windows, she watched as massive black ships emerged from hyperspace, corrupted crystal vessels that seemed to devour the starlight around them. Here they come, she murmured. Then, louder to her team, Prakash, begin emergency protocols for mass casualties. Ryuki, divert power to the new crystal shields. All non-essential personnel to emergency stations. And what of you? Kethrix asked, though his tone suggested he already knew the answer. Eleanor's cybernetics hummed as crystal energy coursed through them, combat and medical protocols merging with guardian power. I'm going to show the Alliance exactly what happens when you combine human ingenuity with crystal technology. She smiled grimly. And remind the Void Lords why it's a bad idea to threaten a combat medic's patients. The first shots from the Void Lord fleet lit up space, beams of corrupted crystal energy designed to transform whatever they touched into shadow tech. They struck the station's new defenses and found something unexpected, shields that didn't just block their power, but transformed it. They thought they were the only ones who could evolve, Eleanor said, stepping onto a platform of pure crystal that had grown from the deck. Time to show them how wrong they are. The platform rose, carrying her toward a newly formed crystal spire at the station's heart. Behind her, she heard Prakash organizing emergency response teams and Ryuki coordinating the station's transformed defenses. Kethrix's wings spread, crystal light blazing. The real battle was about to begin, and Eleanor intended to face it as what she had become, not just a doctor, not just a guardian, but something entirely new. A bridge between two civilizations, fighting to save them both.